In this episode, I'll be talking about Bitcoin, Ethereum's ETF getting approved. When can we expect a retracement? Maybe or maybe not. And what are going to be the flush outs and what are some altcoin setup that you guys can probably watch out. And if you guys are already holding that, then you guys can keep running your winners. So let's start the video, and I've got Coin 360 open right in front of me, and this shows the crypto heat map. You guys can clearly see that more or less 70 to 80% of the cryptos are currently trading in green, and all of them are up only on a weekly time frame if you look at the price changes. But on a daily time frame, there are some altcoins that has just dropped a little by a minute, I would say 0.5% to 1%. Bitcoin is trading around 60, 67, I would say somewhere around 66,900 to $67,000, and it is somewhere near flat 0.5% up. Ethereum is above $3,500, and it is very crucial for Ethereum to stay above 3,500 as well. Solana is outperforming Ethereum and Bitcoin. Okay, AVAX is doing good as well, and rest of the altcoins are up as well. When we hop on to coin market cap, the first thing that we need to see is, so there is like a little bit of parity between the fear and greed index numbered. So when you look at coin market cap, it shows 62, and when you look at coin glass or other side, it shows 71 or 74. So retailers, see, psychologically, this helps you a lot to understand what's the market sentiment, and it is always important to look at the fear and greed index, which gets updated every day after 5:30 a.m. So when you look at the fear and greed index, the only thing that you get to know is the retail market sentiment. So whenever you see extreme greed, we do have a lot of chances of pulling back a little. That does not mean that that's going to invalidate the trend. But when you see greed in the market, especially from a retailer's perspective, even whales and sharks know, or smart money knows this as well, that one small retracement can simply get us a sentimental flush out or a washout. And that washout is something where retailers again start selling with this mentality that they think now the market is going to fall again. Whatever positions we took, it's better to liquidate that, and that's where they start buying. So having a diamond hand, if we are holding long-term cryptos with a long horizon, is very important. Coming back to the video, you look at Ethereum, you look at Bitcoin on a 7-day change, 11%, Ethereum 9.5, BNB is 10%, outperforming both of the majors, and Solana is 20%. It's literally double to what all of these have paired up. XRP is up 11%, Dogecoin is up 17 to 18%, Cardano not performing, AVAX is up 14%, Shiba Inu is again not performing 3%, DOT next to none, Chainlink 9%, Bitcoin Cash 4%, Near 14%, and the list goes on. Now coming back to the charts and the setups that are forming. First, we'll start with Bitcoin and Ethereum. What can be the possible scenario? Because it's very important to understand what can be the upcoming scenario, and accordingly we can position ourselves, and you guys can probably do the same. So you guys can let me know if you guys have found it anything that helps me in building a different bias too. Okay, but as of now, there are only two things that I see. This prediction of mine got invalidated. It followed my path up to the retracement, but it did not completely come back to the zone of 61,000, and it moved up before that. I was expecting we might move up from here. However, we moved up from this zone only, which is 63,000. So this got completely invalidated. I'll just remove this out so that you guys get to see a fresh chart. Now, this is the current price action of Bitcoin. You guys can clearly see when Bitcoin was falling to somewhere around $58,000, there was no displacement being made. Now, when I talk about displacement or impulsive moves, it's basically moves like these. These are, straight away three big candles that gave away a huge move. Okay. Now, when you look at the market, you see a fair value gap here. You see a fair value gap here as well. Now, I don't know whether the market is going to fill this instantly, or we might go up here, because all we, do analysis, or when we analyze charts, we do have this mentality of, having probabilities everywhere. Now, the thing that you need to understand is, first, when the market was falling, you guys can clearly see it was bleeding slowly, taking up some moves, bleeding slowly, taking up some moves, and then we started flash crashing, another flash crash from here. Okay. When we moved up, we were moving impulsively. There are two things that you guys need to understand. The first one being, we don't have resistance right now. We can simply move up to, let's say, this zone of $71,000, or let's say, mitigate the near all-time or the all-time high, recent all-time highs that Bitcoin created, come back again, probably take out this high, or let's say, even if it's not taking out this high, it might just fill the gap and maybe start retracing again to 60,000, and then we might see a final move which is going to pierce all the recent all-time highs. First, this is the first path. The second path is, psychologically, after looking at the fear and greed index, maybe we might move a little more up to, let's say, $70,000, or maybe just a little up to 68 to 69. We come back again, retrace prices to somewhere around $65,000, and then start moving up. Now, this small retracement will, flush out a lot of retailers too. So I don't know what's going to exactly happen. In my opinion, I am bullish on the overall trend, because I usually like talking about one bias only. I do not like talking about, no, I'm bearish too, I'm bullish too. So no, I am bullish on an overall trend. I will be holding all of my cryptos that I currently have. If I'll be selling, I'll be updating that on Telegram, and you guys can probably join my Telegram for that. But the main point over here is, let's say if we retrace, simply have some cash so that you guys can add Ethereum, Solana, or Bitcoin only if you guys want to accumulate. If you guys are willing to accumulate or looking to accumulate any other altcoin, you guys can simply do that after consulting your financial advisor and after doing your research. That is going to be the most important part. Now, let's talk about what can Ethereum do. Now, CBOE has recently confirmed that, they are launching 5 Ethereum ETFs on, I think, Tuesday, which happens to be 23rd of July. And the most important part in that is going to be, now try to understand. CBOE has confirmed, which happens to be the Chicago Board of Exchange. Now, they have confirmed that 5 ETFs are going to launch on the 23rd of July. Okay. Now, this didn't let Ethereum move during the weekends, because usually when we look at Ethereum's price action and Ethereum's volume, it's usually next to less or next to none, because Saturdays and Sundays we have the markets close and the other markets close. This results in not a lot of buyers and sellers getting engaged. But the moment you see Monday coming, or let's say today somewhere around 4:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m., you'll see some sort of maybe a retracement, maybe an influx. Because if you look at Ethereum's price action as of now on a daily time frame, it is consolidating, moving up, consolidating, moving up. I am again going to, repeat the same thing. My overall bias on Ethereum is going to be bullish, and I'll be remaining bullish only. These two paths did not work out. Let's just remove these, remove this, and remove this as well, so that you guys get to see a better view. Now, there are going to be two paths that I am going to probably, that I personally think might, happen. So the first one is a path that we simply retrace a little here, and at the same time moving up, and we simply move up towards 4,000, because once Ethereum consumes this area, we are easily going above $4,000, but not $5,000. Just keep this in mind, and we might start retracing again, maybe to these recent highs or the place where it got recently rejected from. Okay, so this is going to be the first path. Post that, I am going to reevaluate the charts and post another video regarding that. And the second path is going to be, we keep retracing here, okay, in this range, and maybe after the news we show a small pump to, or a 10% jump to maybe 38 or 3900, and we get rejected again. And if we do not retrace here, and let's say if Ethereum or if Bitcoin simply goes back to $65,000, we have slim chances of visiting $3,200 to $3,100 again. And that's the area where you guys can simply add more Ethereum, because post that, the move is surely going to be very expansionary. I don't think Ethereum is going to visit $2,500 again, but up to $3,000, you guys can probably expect the same happening, because you see a lot of fair value gaps here as well. So these are going to be the two parts that you guys can probably watch out. Okay, I have discussed about how the, let's say even if the market crashes, which is not going to be called a crash but a retracement, you guys can probably, keep yourselves prepared. Bitcoin, Ethereum is going to be the major one where you guys can simply, act accordingly and position yourselves by looking at Ethereum and Bitcoin and the altcoins that you guys want to do. Now, there are some setups that I really like, and you guys can probably watch out that. The first one is going to be AVAX. Now, why am I going with AVAX? Okay, so AVAX simply did nothing, did a manipulation over here. Price started getting distributed over here in this range bounded zone, and the distribution came, kept on happening till this zone, and post the distribution, now we are seeing some sort of accumulation on a daily time frame. But when you look at 4-hour time frame, and especially if you like swinging in cryptos, you guys do have a very good setup being formed. Okay, and the distribution, or rather the accumulation, is happening in this area. This was excess price which was completely taken out and being bought back. Okay, now this accumulation zone can act as a very good zone when you are looking for swing longs and not shorts. So let's say if you are looking for an entry in AVAX, I am going to plot an entry right in front of you and you guys. This should be the entry. The stop loss should be this wick. Okay, so it's going to be somewhere around 21%, and I think it's not actually good. Let me just try to cut down on the stop loss, which can be somewhere around 15 to, let's say, 12%. Why? Because this wick can be, I am going to break down this entry into two parts. Let's say this is going to be the target, that's for sure. Okay, let's say if you are looking to swing AVAX using leverage, then I honestly have no comments, because you can simply look at the time frame, and when you are using leverage, you usually do not exceed your time frame by more than an hour or two. Okay, but from a swinging perspective or from a long-term horizon, if you are looking to accumulate AVAX, then yes, you guys can probably do that in two parts. The first part can be this zone, which is the current zone, and 27 to $29 can be the zone, and the second part can be somewhere around $26 to $24. Okay, now in this way, if you are accumulating 50% here and 50% here, then your average price is going to range from somewhere around $25 to $26. And at the same time, let's say if your average price is somewhere around $26, I'm just assuming a common number, and if your average is somewhere around $26, and if you are taking this wick as a stop loss, your, what do you say, your stop loss is not going to be more than 15%, and on a positional swing you guys can easily expect that to happen. Okay, so you guys can probably watch this out, have this in your radar, and look for at least these highs being taken out, or let's say even if you mitigate these out, these highs, you guys can clearly think about selling it off or locking in gains. This was the first one that I really think is bullish. The second one is going to be FET. Now, FET or Fetch AI is something that I already shared in my free Telegram channel as well. You guys can probably hop on over there and watch out. The second thing why I'm accumulating FET is, you guys can clearly see this was the same zone and the same order block where it originated a very impulsive move from. Price tapped in again, it made no small consolidation or showed us an excess price, and we simply bounced off from the same zone where it had showed us an impulsive move from. Now, why am I accumulating FET over here? The moment it starts to consolidate and clears this gap out, or this fair value gap out to this zone of 1.3 to somewhere around 1.2, there's going to be a small drawdown whenever you enter. Okay, so let's say even if you are entering here and you are seeing a 1 to 2% drawdown, it's completely fine. Just make sure that you are not exceeding your stop loss. So over here the stop loss is somewhere around 21% too. Now make sure another thing as well, that your portfolio, let's say your portfolio is worth $10,000, that does not mean you are accumulating FET worth $10,000. Your accumulation allocation should not be more than 10%. Now 10% of $10,000 is $1,000, and if you are losing out 20% of that, that's just $200, which is 2% of your whole account. 2% of $10,000 is $200, and $1,000 allocation in a single altcoin is completely fine when you are losing 2% or 20% out of that, which is going to range around $200. So understand the math behind it. Even if you are taking risk about 10 to 15%, you are only losing out 2% of your whole crypto account. Okay. And like I always say, major allocation should 30% allocation should only be in Bitcoin and Ethereum and maybe Solana that you guys can probably consider. So yeah, the entry is going to be ranging from 1.3 to somewhere around 1.4. You guys can probably break that out. And the better or the more conservative you guys make it, it's going to be more good. Okay. And you guys can easily aim for $2.6 and it's going to be 90%. So you're almost making 1:5, which is completely fine. I think you're sorted for the whole year. The third one is going to be GRT, and I personally have an entry over here as well. The risk is not going to be, I'm not going to be exceeding my risk more than 10% over here. And on a 4-hour time frame, I like this consolidation a lot, and I see a good consolidation happening over here. And let's say even if we are coming down to this zone of 2067, I'll be accumulating more GRT and let my position breathe for a week and then see what's happening. So GRT is another one that you guys can probably keep your radar on. And the last one is going to be injective. Now injective is something that I really like. Why? Because I see no resistances coming up to $33. If you're already holding injective, just make sure that you are holding it and not selling it off. If you want to accumulate injective, I have marked this zone, which happens to be 25 to $25.6. You guys can probably think about accumulating injective from this range of 25 to $26. And yes, let it probably go to somewhere around 33 or even more than that. Don't exceed your risk more than 10% over here. So yeah, this is it for today's update, and here are some setups that I've shared with you guys. You guys can probably watch that out and let me know in the comments if you guys want me to analyze any other crypto. I'll see you guys in the next video.